There have been some really strange matchmaking decisions in the UFC recently, so I thought I'd make a video here, guys, telling you my top 5 must-see fights before the end of 2020. These fights are not the biggest names in the world, you're not going to see them headlining pay-per-views, but these are 5 fights that genuinely intrigue me on a low-key level. Some high-key levels, but some low-key levels as well. I thought I'd give you guys the 5 fights that I need to see made before the end of 2020 that aren't being talked about right now, starting with my first one, Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos. I need to see this fight happen. Shane Burgos put up a hell of a performance against Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett looked spectacular in that fight, but Josh Emmett has now proven himself to be the next up-and-comer in that division. I mean, there's a bunch of him in that division, so Josh Emmett's going to have to join the queue behind Calvin Kattar, but still, Shane Burgos put up a hell of a performance, and so did Dan Ige against Calvin Kattar, who I just mentioned. Went 5 rounds with Calvin Kattar, could have won 2 of those rounds. Zabit Magomedsharipov wouldn't have lasted 4 rounds with Calvin Kattar. Dan Ige is a savage, regardless of his win over Edson Barboza and some of the other decisions in his career. He's put together a massive win streak, even with that dodgy decision against Barboza. He did beat Masad Bektik. He's beaten a lot of good guys in that division. I feel like a great step back for both of these guys would be fighting each other. This will tell us who's going to stick around as the next guy to come up in the UFC featherweight division and who's going to leave the division, or not leave the division, but leave the conversations of contendership in the division and fight someone on the up-and-coming outside of the rankings. I feel like it's a great matchup for both of them right now. Their schedules are almost perfectly aligned, so I feel like this will be a great time frame for them to get back in there, maybe around November, December. Shane Burgos still needs a little bit of time off because he took a lot of damage in his fight versus Emmett. Dan Ige was really active as well and took a lot of damage in the Barboza and Kattar fight. So I say, let's actually get these 2 guys in there at the end of the year, around December, and I feel like this could headline the prelims of UFC 256, the card with Nunes versus Anderson on there. Yeah, Nunes versus Anderson. That pay-per-view. Jesus fucking Christ. Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos, in my opinion, would be a great headliner of the prelims, because I feel like that's the purpose of a headliner of the prelims. 2 great talents ready to put on a show and a guaranteed entertaining fight to butter people up to buy the pay-per-view. Good job, both of these guys. Well, I don't know why I'm telling them good job. I've just put them together. I should be saying good job, MMA Guru here. Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos is a fight I need to see before the end of 2020. Drew Dober versus Diego Ferreira is the next fight I need to see in 2020. I'm intrigued by this one. Not really. This is not the fight I would have originally made, but recently, Charles Oliveira signed a fight with Beneil Dariush. We've had a lot of other matchups being made in the lightweight division that's booked a lot of people up. Islam Makhachev is now fighting Rafael Dos Anjos, who isn't ranked currently in the lightweight division, so that's going to hold up another name in the division that I thought could be paired up with Drew Dober. I thought Dober versus Makhachev would be great, but Dober versus Ferreira is maybe even better, because Diego Ferreira, in my opinion, although being ranked number 8 in the world, he's lost to number 11 Beneil Dariush, so I don't know why he's number 8 in the world. He beat Anthony Pettis, who I believe was ranked barely in the top 15 when he beat him, so I know that Diego Ferreira has put together a really good resume recently with wins over Maybek Taisumov and some other good guys. I just feel as though maybe he shouldn't be as highly ranked as he is, and normally for a number 8 guy, I know they're really going to be looking towards the top 5, but I think he's blessed to be number 8. No offense, Diego Ferreira, I feel like you should be taking on Drew Dober right now. I think that would be a great matchup. I would love to see it happen. I think Drew Dober needs to jump up the rankings, because if you look at Drew Dober's recent resume, beat Alexander Hernandez, who is a ranked opponent, only lost to Beneil Dariush recently as far as I can remember, but has other big wins in the division as well over Nasrat Haqparast, who recently bounced back against Alex Munoz. There are great matchups to make at lightweight, and I feel like this is the next great matchup to do. Diego Ferreira versus Drew Dober, I feel like this should be the co-main event of a fight night. I feel like it's that level of fight, or give them the spotlight in the main event of a fight night and book a great co-main event to support it alongside it. But other than that, a great co-main event of a fight night, or again, maybe slide this in that number 4 slot of a pay-per-view card, because listen, it's a great matchup, it's guaranteed entertainment. Diego Ferreira versus Drew Dober, in my opinion, should happen next. Moving on to my next fight that must happen before the end of 2020. Mike Perry versus Michel Pereira. I need to see this. I need to see this. Michel Pereira, I know he called out Jorge Masvidal for the BMF belt. It's not going to happen, okay? You're not coming off a loss. Only people that are coming off losses can fight for the BMF belt. Michel Pereira versus Mike Perry is something I really need to see. I was thinking more along the lines of Mike Perry versus Kevin Holland, but then I realised, hang on, Kevin Holland has a fight against a dangerous opponent coming up. Maybe let him get past that one first. Darren Stewart's no joke. He showed that against Maki Pitolo by finishing him in the first round. Mike Perry versus Michel Pereira. Neither of them have an opponent right now. Michel Pereira just basically took little to zero damage in his last performance against Azalim Imadiev, and he's right. He's hot on the press right now. The whole slapping thing, Michel Pereira's name value has just skyrocketed in my opinion. The stock is high in Michel Pereira. Mike Perry versus Michel Pereira needs to happen next, preferably on the main card of a pay-per-view or the co-main event of a fight night. I think it's a good matchup to make, and I need to see it before the end of 2020. Forget about Mike Perry's mental health. We need to see him in the cage before he starts putting those hands on the public again. You know what I'm saying? Vicente Luque versus Jeff Neal is the next fight I need to see happen in 2020. Vicente Luque versus Jeff Neal is a great matchup. I love this one. Vicente Luque is my must-see fighter of the year so far. He's had great performances against Nico Price at UFC 249. Randy Brown, most recently, only a couple of weeks ago, he had a great performance there against another dangerous up-and-comer. I say this is the one last matchup for the pair of them. One real test against another streaking contender like themselves. Jeff Neal, on the other hand, been nothing but flawless since joining the division. I just, in my last fight, said Mike Perry versus Michel Pereira. Jeff Neal was a guy who head-kicked Mike Perry in the first round and finished him there. Not many guys can say that, including Vicente Luque, who took Mike Perry to a decision. I think this is a dangerous matchup for both of them. That's why I want to see it now, because I really feel like this is a main event of a fight night. Give them the spotlight. Put a big name as the co-main event that maybe is not so relevant anymore, that's going to bring some eyes to it. But Vicente Luque versus Jeff Neal, in terms of I can't think of a better main event of a fight night. I'd be sweating like a title fight if that fight happened, because Jeff Neal's so dangerous, Vicente Luque so dangerous. They both do things that are dangerous for each other. Vicente Luque pushes a hell of a pace and keeps a very big pressure on you, which is something that Jeff Neal has shown typically not to really like in his career. He likes to control the range and set his own pace. But Jeff Neal, on the other hand, is extremely explosive. And when we've seen Vicente Luque take on big power punches that have high volume, like Jeff Neal does in those early rounds, he seems to shell up, take a few too many shots. I just think it's so dangerous. Jeff Neal's so powerful, and Luque's there to be hit sometimes. Jeff Neal also is there to be hit at times, and Vicente Luque can throw back, and Luque's got the pace. I just think it's such an interesting matchup. Make it the main event of a fight night, because I need to see it right now, moving on up the card. And if the winner of Vicente Luque versus Jeff Neal in the main event of a fight night is then looking at the top 5 guys, is then looking at if Woodley beats Covington and Woodley needs another opponent before getting his title shot, because he probably won't get a title shot just for beating Colby Covington. But still, maybe the loser of Usman versus Burns is looking for an opponent. That opponent could be Luque or Jeff Neal. That's the matchup I need to see. Moving on to my number 1 fight I need to see before the end of 2020 this year. I'll do a regular series at this as well, maybe updating it every month. Stephen Thompson versus Leon Edwards. I need to see it right now, because I did not want to see Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz too. I wanted to see Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards for the BMF title. There was storyline, there was backstage brawling. Stephen Thompson, in my opinion, has well earned a shot up the rankings recently. He's had a great performance against Vicente Luque, who, again, I just mentioned in my last fight I need to see. Stephen Thompson needs to jump up the rankings again. Even his losses, he went to a draw with Tyron Woodley. He went to a razor-close loss that arguably he could have won in Tyron Woodley again. Yes, he lost to Anthony Pettis, but he's now bounced back. He's such a big name. I don't think we can give him anything but a top 5 fight right now. So Leon Edwards versus Stephen Thompson is the fight I want to see happen next. Leon Edwards. Although Leon Edwards is a guy where people say, how has he not earned his title shot? I get it. I really do understand that Leon Edwards could get a title shot. But at the end of the day, he does need to fight some more times. And the one thing I do want to say about Leon Edwards here that I wanted to mention before. Leon Edwards, the worst thing he could do right now is be inactive. Because if Masvidal doesn't want to fight you coming off a loss, what makes you think he's going to want to fight you coming off a win when he's got all his stock back in the market? I just don't see Masvidal coming off a win going to Leon Edwards if he wasn't going to go to Leon Edwards when he was in a more desperate situation coming off a loss. I don't understand it. He's always got the Nate Diaz option. Masvidal always has the pick of the fighters, and he's not going to pick a low name value opponent like Leon Edwards that's a very dangerous style for him. Leon Edwards is probably going to be not called out by anyone in the top 10 of the division anytime soon. I think Edwards versus Wonderboy would be a great matchup. Number 3 versus number 6. If Leon Edwards wins, he will move above the winner, or if Colby Covington loses to Woodley, Edwards will be number 2. If Burns loses to Usman, Edwards might slide all the way up into number 1. Stay active. Get a good win over a top opponent in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who holds a win over Masvidal, by the way, as well, so that will give you some bargaining power. Leon Edwards versus Stephen Thompson needs to happen next. I know it's not a fight that Leon Edwards maybe wants to take right now, but it's the fight that I want to see. Main event of a fight night, main card of a pay-per-view, make it happen. Edwards versus Wonderboy Thompson. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Those are my 5 fights to see, but one more. One more honourable mention that I forgot to say. I know this is a top 5 fights of 2020, but one more honourable mention that just needs to be mentioned. And it can't not be mentioned in this video. Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba. You know what that pause was afterwards? That was me refusing to say the number 2. Because we didn't see a first fight whatsoever. We haven't seen a second fight either. But we haven't even had a fight between them. It's been booked so many times. I don't know of a fight with so little in-cage time that's had this much hype. They haven't even really fought each other yet. But yet, for some reason, this has become one of the most intense rivalries of the year. Even though they aren't even trash-talking each other. For some reason, via my own mental retardation, I guess, I've just created this whirlpool of chaos and excitement around Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba, and I feel like everyone is doing the same thing. We don't know why, but we need to see it because it's been taken away from us. If this wasn't taken away from us, it would be over and done with, and we probably wouldn't be talking about it right now. But because it's been promised, and the excitement was there, and it was taken away, and then it was promised again, all the excitement was there even more because of the controversy in the first fight they had. Then it was taken away again. I need to see this before the end of the year. Main card pay-per-view worthy. Ankalaev versus Cutelaba. Make it happen, Dana. I need to see that fight before the end of the year. But great matchups to make. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Click that button there. Yeah. Tell me what other kind of videos you want me to do, because I like rambling about random stuff. But I'm going to do one of these maybe every week, depending. You know? See you later.